Welcome to the SBI podcast. You are joining the most watched and listened to show dedicated to B2B revenue growth. My name is Melissa Valdez, the Director of Client Engagement for SBI. Our guest today is Matt Millen, Senior Vice President of Revenue Operations for Outreach. Matt is one of the top revenue growth leaders who knows how to be a market leader. Matt is here to share his emerging best practices for effective sales prospecting. Hope you enjoy the show. From SBI's Executive Briefing Center in Dallas, Texas, the most watched and listened to content in B2B sales and marketing, it's the SBI podcast with your host, Matt Shares.
Welcome to the SBI podcast, a weekly show dedicated to helping you make your number. Today, we're going to demonstrate how to fill the funnel with real sales opportunities. How can you not be interested in that topic? My name is Matt Shares. I'm the CEO of SBI. I'm also your host. Joining me in the studio in Dallas, as always, is my beloved co-host, Melissa Valdez. And Melissa's here to point you to resources to advance you along the way to making your number. Hey, Melissa.
Thank you, Matt. And I'm especially happy to be here with the wonderful Matt Millen today.
Yeah, you have two Matts in studio. So joining us in person in the studio in Dallas is Matt Millen. And Matt is the Senior Vice President of Revenue Operations for Outreach. So Matt, welcome.
Great to be here.
Yeah, good to see you too, man. Thanks for coming. With a name like that, you and I are going to have a lot of fun. Melissa will keep us on track. So before we jump into the show, love to hear a little bit about you, your history, and a little bit about Outreach and what Outreach does so our viewers and listeners can understand that.
Yeah. I'm celebrating my 30th year in sales.
Damn.
Yeah, that means 120 times I've started off a quarter at zero.
I was just going to say, you have tried out 120 times.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, what a place to start it, the studio at a sales consulting firm.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, learned a lot along the way.
Yeah.
We still have a lot to learn, as we go through the journey.
Well, great to have you here.
And I started selling before there was all this technology. There were fax machines and hard phones and
pagers.
And maybe.
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah, no kidding. So if you could tell the audience, what does Outreach do and how should the audience think about Outreach?
Yeah, Outreach is the leading sales engagement platform.
Okay.
And I always like to say Outreach gives a sales rep a fat wallet. Mm. We help you make more money.
Yep.
How we do that, we give you time back in the day.
Yep.
We help you be way more active by taking off the stuff you don't want to do that gets in the way of talking to customers.
Okay.
Amplifies your activity.
Yep.
And in the end, our customers should see 30% more meetings and a 30% lift in their funnel.
And is the way to think about the platform, if I'm a listener, if I'm a head of sales, and I'm like, ooh, I haven't heard of Outreach, boy, I should have my sales ops leader go run and investigate that. If there were a couple of things that an Outreach platform does, so I hear the comment around lift and uptick, but how do I think about it in terms of my seller? Is it because I've got more qualified opportunities? Is it because I've got the ability to send the right content at the right time? Clarify it even more so our audience knows.
Yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, the sales organization is the last organization of most organizations that get the investment.
Yep.
Everything's been modernized except the selling process.
Yep.
So the team that's responsible for taking the innovation of that organization to market is still using old tools, old process, very inefficient systems.
Yep.
And we modernize the sales process. And we can talk more about that through our conversation today, but in essence, what we do is we provide the right amount of automation through the sales process. We take tasks off the plate that need to be done that usually don't get done.
Yep.
We automatically update the CRM on behalf of the reps. They don't have to take time out of the day to do that.
Yep.
Like in the end, they're going to have more time to talk to customers. And here's what I know. Hitters love to hit and salespeople love to sell.
Yeah.
And the more opportunities we can put a sales rep at the plate to have a conversation, the more chances they have to fill the funnel, and the better they're getting along the way.
Amen on that, brother. Yeah. All right. Well, so Melissa, before Matt and I jump into it, I think the audience is going to want to know how they can follow along so they can extract maximum value from us having Matt in the studio. Can you share with them how they do that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, for those of you who have been listening for a while, I'm sure you have your trusty How to Make Your Number workbook in 2018 handy. For those of you who do not, however, you can go to sbi.tips/2018 workbook, and you will turn to the sales strategy section on page 359.
All right, Matt, so we're going to jump into the questions. We're going to talk, and we're going to get right after it to start. So there's the age-old debate of the number of leads that marketing should produce the number of leads that sales should produce. And you guys, to some extent, referee that effort. And I know folks on my team, are users of your platform and big fans of your platform, and it helps drive our motion. But help us orchestrate that marketing versus sales lift. And how do you think about that?
Yeah, first of all, there's no one answer. Every organization has the right mix. There's a couple things that drive it. How well you're known, how much businesses come into your website, the economics of generating a lead from scratch versus generating one through demand generation, as an example. So there's a lot of economics.
Right.
At Outreach, 90% of our business we generate through the good old selling effort. 10% will be driving through demand generation.
Yep. And talk about that because of the nature of your sales cycle and the salespeople. So how has that 90-10, has it been that way for a while? Or is this something where you guys knew early on this was going to be the mix, you baked it into your hiring profiles, et cetera?
That's a great question. For early on in our organization, we were 99%, generating, literally driving business off our own platform. And last year, we made a very conscious decision to invest in marketing, spin up a demand generation engine, which is working phenomenally. So we built up to a 10% mix. It doesn't mean we'll stop, but we work very closely with demand generation and our lead generation team in terms of really balancing out the quality of the leads coming in. So, having a bunch of leads coming in that don't convert doesn't help. It costs a lot of money. And then, so the mix economically, and then also the mix of conversion.
Okay.
So I know what it costs me to generate a lead with one of my reps on the phone and using our platform. I also know how much it costs to generate by investing it online. And so we're looking at a number of different economic levers and ultimately then conversion levers.
So, Matt, to help the audience, in terms of like sales cycle length, deal size, so they can sort of understand like the nature of your selling motion, what would be an average sales cycle length for you guys?
52 days.
Okay, that was a very precise answer. So even if Matt made that answer up, the fact that he said it off the top of his head makes me think it's real. So that was good. So 52 days. So that's a pretty rapid sales cycle, which is good to know. Now, that leads me to my next question. So knowing it's 52 days, how do you think about the structure of the sales force because you have sales generating so many leads? So kind of walk us through your structure and how you ended up there.
Well, and just to the 52 days, I look at 52 days on average, but when a marketing generated lead, what's the average close time? What's the average deal size? So in other words, we're always looking at the comparatives. Now, we've structured our prospecting effort a little differently than most. Most people would say, well, our prospecting effort starts with our outbound team. And we actually go back one layer.
Okay.
So we actually have a team called data specialists. And what they do is they create the hygiene around the leads that we use. So one of the things that we focus on is efficiency and efficacy. Efficiency, how quickly we can go through our motion. Efficacy, focusing on conversion rates and excellence. Now, with that, what we have found, if we can provide our prospectors with very clean leads, very clean data, they have to spend, A, no time getting that data prepared, and B, their confidence level is high as they go into it.
So how many, and you call them, are they data scientists?
Data specialists.
Data specialists. That's very unique. How many of these data specialists can the team, I guess, support, and sort of what's the flow of that? Because that's a good idea, but it's not something that you hear often.
No, it's not something you hear often. Look, too many times you have sales reps responsible for prospecting. And again, the efficiency isn't there. They're using
I'm with you.
Good leads, bad leads, some leads, not all the information they need.
Just a bunch of bad activity.
Right. So again, our thought is the better prepared we can make our team,
Love it.
The more confidence they have going into the motion.
And
again, the more extraction we'll get from the effort coming out of their work.
And is the team structured all inside, all outside? Like, how do you guys structure the actual sales organization?
So we have sales development reps. And those sales development reps are chartered with taking leads that we harvest and enrich and give to them, and then they'll work those leads. Each of my sales development reps, we'll call them SDRs for short, work 400 accounts at any point in time.
Okay.
Never miss a follow-up.
Got it.
They make 75 dials a day, and they put 40 new prospects into the platform. We also have a team of MDRs, or market development reps. Their job is to take the leads that are generated from demand generation and then they'll work those. So we have an inbound team based on demand gen, and then we have a large outbound team that creates the 90%.
I love the precision. I mean, so if you were listening or watching this show right now, Matt's answers are so off the top of his mind that they actually can't be lies, because he didn't have to do like the pause and go, about 27. He's actually telling the truth. So the takeaway you should get from that is, do you know your numbers? Do you know your outbound numbers, and do you know your inbound numbers? And do you have a process to have data quality? So in a very short amount of time, he's generated a significant amount of value, which leads me to my last question in this segment. What about the technology platforms that you use on your efficacy side to ensure that you're not taking human beings to do something that a piece of software or machine can do? Because many of your peers struggle with, there's so many technology tools, right. I don't know which ones to use. Right. I got them all, but none of them are optimized. So how do you fight that fight?
Yeah, and those folks are feeling tool fatigue.
Yes.
They have too much that they're not using.
Yes.
Look, for those folks, I say thank you for investing in your team and sort it out.
Yep.
For the folks that aren't investing in your team, you need to. That day is here. We use a number of different platforms. Number one, we have a fully robust CRM that we sit on.
Yep.
Our own platform then sits over that, where all the action layer, all the activity happens.
Okay. Ooh, action layer. That's good. I like that. Okay.
It is
so you got the action. You got the action layer.
Yeah, that's where all the magic happens.
Yeah, I feel it's like a cartoon character, a guy with a big AL on his chest. So you got the action layer. Okay, what else?
Then we have, I talked about the importance of data enrichment and the quality data. So we work with 7 different shops that provide us data enrichment so we can make our leads full and robust.
Yeah, great.
Everything from signals from the marketplace to their technology stack.
Yep.
Make sure we have the right contacts and contact information.
Yep.
So every lead's complete.
All right, so Matt and I are going to take a quick break. Big takeaway. If the separation between what Matt calls MDRs and SDRs, you might have different vernacular at your place of business. You might not have that separation. Best practice, though, is you have folks who spend time thinking about outbound, and that is what they do. And you have folks sorting and working through inbound. That is what, now, how many you need, what that structure looks like, we'll figure that out. And Matt and I are going to talk a little bit about some more things relative to operationalizing that after the break. But that should be a big takeaway. So, Melissa, on that point, can you share with our audience, I think, something you've got that can help them along the way?
Yes, I can. To our viewers and listeners, if you are wondering how you're going to make your number this year, as soon as you're finished listening or watching this podcast, go to salesbenchmarkindex.com/revenue growth diagnostic. SBI has built an online web-based self-assessment, and you can self-assess in 1 to 5 areas of strategy. And the output of that is a roadmap of what you need to do to get to your number this year.
All right. You listen to the SBI podcast. I'm your host, Matt Scherz, and today's guest is Matt Millen. Matt's the Senior Vice President of Revenue Operations for Outreach. So today, Matt and I are demonstrating how to fill the funnel with real sales opportunities. And I would take it one step further, as I would actually think about this as building and executing a prospecting methodology. Many of you watching and listening grew up in the days of a sales methodology, Miller, Hyman, customer-centric, etc. Many of you are investigating account management methodologies. Many of you are wrestling with customer success and what's your methodology there. We're talking about prospecting. 4 elements in your life cycle, in your revenue life cycle, that you need to be mindful of. We're working on the front end, and that's how I would think about it. If you don't have all 4, you're missing out. So, Matthew, because we have the same name, so I'm going to call you Matthew. That's what my mom calls me. So, yeah, big shout out to Barbara. Hi, Mom. We're talking about prospecting methodology and the cleanliness of data. So think about your sales force. How have you, I guess, empowered them, whether it's through SLAs, whether it's through interlock meetings, whether it's through the coverage with an SDR, like how have you empowered them to ensure that the prospecting process in motion is actually effective in getting the yield that they want?
Yeah, super question. And in your opening, you have to build a methodology, you have to build a system that delivers an expected result.
Yep.
And you have to have the measurement in place so when you're getting it, it's well. When you're not getting it, you should get enough signaling of where to look.
Yep.
And then once you're getting it, how do you start getting better conversion ratios?
Yep.
Prospecting is super important because because it sits at the top of the funnel, the efficiencies or any increments that you can drive early on have massive expansion down below into closing. So if you just think about being, 3% more effective down here, you think about the expansion in your funnel.
Yeah.
3% more effective at the bottom,
Yeah.
still important, but it's not magnified by all the steps.
Yep.
So we're very focused on the prospecting effort. And it's not just the SDRs and the MDRs. For many of your listeners, they're going to have what we call a full cycle AE. They're going to have an account executive who part of that day is prospecting. So everything we're talking about today is for the full cycle AE.
I like that.
It's for the account manager that's thinking about how to expand within their current base.
Yep.
So what we're talking about today is for anybody responsible for generating business.
Yep. Well, and that term full cycle AE, if you kind of think about helping a buyer investigate a problem, and you and I were chatting at lunch, about the consumption patterns of buyers, right? And I was sharing with you some of the things that we notice with our clients and prospects. And something that I've used with our team is I say, guys, it's not a funnel, it's an hourglass. So, it starts like this, it comes down like this, ooh, we got a new client, and then it goes like, it should go like this, right? If our teams, right, do their job. So knowing that, how do you think about the ideal nurture sequence? Because where I've seen a lot of our listeners and viewers struggle on questions that we get coming in is how much is too much? How much is enough? Should I be reaching out every 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 1 week? Yeah. I mean, you guys have created a real engine around this. So what's your opinion around nurture?
Yeah, I could use for all the golfers out there, think of putting for a moment. If you had a 9-foot putt and you putt 6 feet.
Mine would be for bogey because I have not been playing that much, so unfortunately.
But a 6-foot putt will never get in the hole.
Yep.
And the challenge that most salespeople have is they're putting short. And what I mean by that, someone like you, our listeners, it could take 12, 15, 18 attempts of touching you in some way through multi-channel for you to just become aware of the effort, let alone respond.
Yep.
And the average rep in America right now is making about 3.5 attempts.
Yep.
So the world puts short. So the way I think about these sequences is I'm going to putt long. So I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to give you a lot of data here. If I'm going after your organization, the first thing I do to make sure I'm putting long is I'm going after 4 individuals in that company. I'm going after your 2 most senior sales leaders, your ops leader, and your marketing leader. So that's the first thing. I'm 4 wide.
Okay.
And when I'm 4 wide, my messaging speaks to the ops leader in the challenges they may be having. My messaging for the marketing leader will be very, very persona-based in the sales leader. Not only will we speak that way, but then we'll use some very basic disc profiling. So we know the sales leader is most likely a high D and wants to get right to the point. We'll know the marketing leader will enjoy a little bit more conversation. We know that the the ops leader is going to be more focused on rigor and standards and being safe. So we're going to speak not only to their pain, but the way that they want to be spoken to.
Yep.
So I'm going to go 4 wide, and then I'm going to go 18 steps in between 2 and 3 weeks, not every 2 weeks.
Yep.
I'm going to do 18 touches between 2 and 3 weeks, depending on the persona. They're going to know I'm there. I guarantee you, they're going to know I'm there.
So Matt, so I want to just pause so the audience can pick up. So insights from by the way, putt long, love that. So that's gonna hang around. So putt long, 4 wide, 18 touches, 2 to 3 weeks. Yep. Got it. It would seem to me like to do that methodology, which I absolutely love, if I've done my account segmentation correct, this is effective. If I haven't done segmentation and I don't know my ideal customer profile by potential to spend, propensity to buy, cost to acquire, and lifetime value, I have no chance. Fair?
Partly.
Yeah.
Partly. Look, right now, if you don't have that data and you're putting short, and you're winning some of the time, putting longer, you'll win more of the time, but you're not going to have the precision with that data.
That's fair.
One of the reasons we talked early on about having somebody looking at who you should be calling with the right information. Look, I know who I'm calling has the pain I solve.
Yep.
I know they've got the propensity to buy. I'm talking to the right people the right way.
Yep.
And that's the value of investing a little bit and making sure you've got good data for your reps.
Very good. Melissa, putt long.
Yeah, I'm taking notes, yes.
If you just hear me yelling from my office, putt long.
And putt often.
Yeah, and putt often. Love it. Putt long and putt often. All right, so I'm putting long, I'm putting often, I'm running my 4 wide, I'm running my 18 touches. Let's talk a little bit about the offers and the content and what is it that I'm sending? How do you think about that? We were early adopters of content marketing, as you know. We produce a lot of content. I've got a lot of scars on my back, but also some good learnings along the way. What's your opinion relative to offer creation as part of your putting strategy?
I think for the right product and depending on the complexity and the life cycle, I think offers can absolutely work. We don't do offers. We speak just very candidly about the pain that we believe most sales organizations are in.
Yep.
I mean, just a couple stats for the folks out there, so nobody feels alone. But 50% of all salespeople this year will miss their number. 65% of the selling day is spent not selling, not engaged.
Yep.
Internal stuff to make things happen,
Yep.
or updating your system or your system of record in the cloud, right?
Yeah.
These are just truths. 99% of all leads never get worked
Yep.
that come from marketing, let alone, we've got a process. Check this out. I can get a lead off the web, I can enrich it, and I have a rep on it in 3 minutes, guaranteed 100% of the time.
Guarantee is a big word, man.
100%.
All right.
Trade show. Think about all the money you spend
Yeah.
at a trade show.
Yep.
Marketing comes back with a big box of leads, and
Yeah.
invariably they're yelling at the sales team in 2 weeks what's going on. Every day we upload our leads. They go into a trade show sequence. They get 23 touches over 2 weeks.
Yep. So, I mean, the key takeaway from this segment as we go to break is the instrumentation of your process. You don't even have to be perfect on your process or perfect on your numbers. You got to have some baseline, though, that you can use where you know what's working. It might be 4 touches, it might be 8, it might be 2 wide, it might be 8 wide. But the clarity with which Matt articulated that, and you can hear that reverberate through the organization. If I was listening to this show or watching this show, that would be something that I would be taking away as I thought about the ability to implement that emerging best practice. So, Melissa, based on that, I think you have some more information to share with the team.
I do. If the pain, that's what it's all about, right? If you need help with your putting game, so to speak, relative to
Got it, girl. Good job.
Thank you. Sales prospecting, big golf fan here. I encourage you to enlist the help of our SBI team of subject matter experts by participating in an interactive workshop. And we would be thrilled to host you down here at the studio in Dallas, Texas, center of the country, 1 flight away, experience some Southern hospitality, and get down and dirty in the trenches with our team of experts to help you develop a sales prospecting strategy. To understand what's covered in these workshops, you can go to sbi.tips/2018 workbook.
We're here with Matt Millen, SVP of Revenue Operations for Outreach. Matt and I are heading into our last segment, a Power Pack segment, demonstrating sales prospecting. So, I'm gonna call you Matty because that's what everybody calls me. So you were Matthew, and now we're gonna bring it home with Matty.
Love that.
Right? Everyone's got a nickname at SBI, and you get the same one I do. So, talk to me about resources that you give to the sales team, resources you give to the marketing team. If you kind of think about your MDR, SDR structure, to ensure that they have what they need to execute on your methodology.
Yeah, so, and I want to make just a follow-up point. We're not perfect either. I certainly don't want to give that impression. But what we do is we're very fast testers, we're very fast failers.
Yeah.
And we're not afraid to try something that changes the game.
Yep.
And I also want to put a spin on the answer to this for you in terms of the resources. Because at some point, we've talked about technology, we've talked about process. Look, there's people doing the work. There's real people behind these efforts.
Yep.
And it takes a lot to make the calls and know you're interrupting somebody and going to have a conversation they weren't expecting. So I want to just honor the people that do the prospecting and answer the question this way. We give them a methodology that I call SAM, S-A-M. The first is a killer story. Like if you're going to get on the phone, you better have something when they pick up.
Yeah.
You got to have some conviction. You got to have some passion. I mean, you got to get someone and hold someone's energy for a few minutes. So please give your team a story.
Yeah.
Make it compelling.
Okay.
That's first.
Yep.
And have fun. Test it. Role play it, like have it become like when someone challenges your story, like you need to defend it like you defend your family's name.
Yeah.
Like give them a killer story.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the S.
Okay, got it.
The A stands for the activity.
Okay.
Look, we can talk about process all day long. The activity's got to get done. So whatever the activity is, you need to think about two things. One, what is the right activity that will yield the output? Like how many calls do I need to make?
Yep.
How many emails do I need to send? What does my long putt look like? And then there's the conversion rates. Like, you're going to have one girl over there that makes 50 calls a day, but she talks to 5 people and gets 2 meetings, and there's a guy over there that makes 300 calls and talks to nobody.
Yep.
Look, you see it all, right? You got to get the conversion down, and you can't burn through leads, and you can't only call 3 people either. So how do you figure out the range of activity that supports?
Yep.
What are the conversion rates we need? How do my leaders coach their people to ensure that we're getting the conversion? Because that's coaching, that's training,
Okay.
all around the activity. The third, M, is mindset. Like you got to go into this hot. Like you are going to win or lose what's going on up here, okay? If I'm making 75 calls a day,
Yep.
and I've had 74 tough ones. I got to go into 75 like this is the game changer for the company. I'm going to talk to someone, and this deal will change our company's trajectory. Like, how do I go in, and how do we create an environment for our team where they know with absolute certainty that the company has their back, the company has the back of their prospects and their customers, so each and every time they can do their best work. And when you create that mindset, they hit the activity.
Yeah.
With the right zeal, the right vigor. And they tell this story with the right passion and conviction.
Yeah.
And that,
Dude, I feel like I'm in like a little Tony Robbins workshop right here. I want to come and work for you.
right, but we don't want to lose sight of the human element of
Yeah,
this.
no,
and
I'm
we're
with you.
super passionate. And I'll tell you, as an organization who our mission is to make the lives of salespeople better, largely through automation, nobody celebrates the human element more.
Yeah.
And having that balance and those counterbalances is what makes it work.
So, Matt, you made me, so my first sales job, we used to do this thing called phone block. And phone block was from 8 a.m. to noon. You dialed the phone for 55 minutes. You physically got up, you went to the whiteboard, and you wrote down how many times you dialed, how many contacts you had, and how many appointments. DCA, that was the acronym.
Love it.
It was 25 dials, 10 contacts, 2 appointments, and you had to get 8 appointments before you left for the day to go sell. You had to do that on Monday and Wednesday. I remember it like it's yesterday. It was 21, 22 years ago. And I remember like it's yesterday, walking up. And sometimes you're walking up, you can't wait to write your DCA. And other times you're like, I'm such a loser. What was I doing for the last 55 minutes? But mindset was a big part of it. So I'm chuckling with fond recollection. And it is still a key element around being incredible in sales.
Absolutely.
Is mindset and activity. And you're right, you got to have a story. Why change and why change now?
That's right.
Okay, so you talk a little bit about the storytelling, the activity. So when you think about metrics and iteration and a good week or a good day or a good month, what's your operating rhythm?
I love that. So we have a weekly is our rhythm because we like to flatten out seasonality and. But here's what we look at everything. We started off in
Yeah.
I think segment 1 talking about just comparing the behavior of leads coming in versus leads we generate, right?
Yeah.
We take a look at every activity throughout the day. We look at conversion points.
Yep.
Meetings get set. We take a look at how many get set, what % get run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge, because there's quality. We create enough value when we set the meeting. When we set a meeting, we'll have you respond back to us. Why did you agree to take this meeting? And if you can't give us a great answer, we haven't done our job. That meeting will never run. Once the meeting's set up, 45-second video goes out of me and letting them know what to expect in the meeting. We do a lot to keep customers in state, along the way. So that, we continue to find.
That's a nice experience ad. Wow. So they set a meeting. They get a video from the big chief saying, "Hey, thanks for agreeing to meet with my team.
Here's what to expect.
Here's what to expect."
Hold us to a high standard.
What a great touch.
Yeah.
So I'm reacting to that because Matt, right now so when people listen to this show, it will be just the other side of Christmas, right? Early 2018, January. And if there was a big topic that I'm getting a lot of calls to help CEOs with, it's a concept of client experience or customer experience, depending on your term. But people are like, I want to understand the experience. I want to make a seamless experience, a frictionless experience. I want to delight my customers. And something you just said with all the work I've been doing and studying is the ability to set an expectation of the journey that somebody's going to go on with your organization before they're a customer. So the takeaway for those watching and listening, Matt just dropped an incredible little insight that is bleeding edge, which is the journey you're about to take as a prospect or a customer, because if you're onboarding a customer, I'm sure they get something even more than that, is a great way to set expectations about the experience. So that was a nice little gift. Last question for you, and it's a big one. A vision for the full revenue life cycle. So we were talking about I talked about my hourglass, and that's my vision. How do you think about that from your perspective and everything, not just at Outreach, but everything you've seen in your 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great metaphor because so many people think of it as the inverted triangle. So it's very few people have that full view. I just say, you take a look at your business and you take a look at and the bigger you get, the more business that you're getting from your current customer. And you think about,
or you should be,
right? Making some big assumptions.
Yeah.
How much share of wallet is still left?
Yeah.
Even past customers that know you are way more likely to buy from you if they haven't gone out of business or you didn't piss them off than someone that doesn't even know you, right?
Yep.
So you really need to look at the long view here, and in the relationship, and the whole piece comes down to the experience the customer gets. Do you deliver on the promise? Let me tell you what I mean by that. In an organization that sells, you have promise makers and you have promise keepers. Up to the point of the sale, everybody has made promises. Nothing's had to be delivered yet. So it's great. It's like first date. This is great.
That's right.
Look, your promise keeper end of the organization is where the hourglass really expands. That's where all your money is going to be made. You're either going to deliver on the promise, you're going to meet their corporate objectives, or you're not. And not focusing on the delivery, the experience, and ultimately the value derived, that's where you make or break it.
The promise keeping, and if you think about, and in our business, and I know you've seen this as well in yours, executives hire consulting firms, not companies. And executives that move from company A to company B typically take their advisors with them, right? And because they build a relationship and they build trust. And if you promise keep the first time you meet a new executive, or if you guys promise keep the first time you that meet a head of sales, chances are he or she is going to put you in their backpack of a career journey, and they're going to take you on the next 20 years, and executives change jobs on average every couple of years. So the one thing you can bet on is that change. Has the promise keeping, as you think about customer success, as you think about churn mitigation to mitigate and to drive enterprise value, have you put more focus as the revenue life cycle has expanded on promise keeping in the nature of how business is getting done in 2018?
Yeah, and this year, I mean, we have a hashtag in our business every year, and this year's hashtag was nobody leaves, like no churn.
Yeah.
Like we are so focused on ensuring that we deliver on the promise.
Yeah.
We swarm. If a customer is not experiencing our platform the way we believe they should, we swarm it. Like we get the best minds in the organization to get around it and make it right.
Yeah. I love that. The urgency to promise make and the urgency to promise keep.
Right.
You have to have more intensity on promise keeping when you find that somebody maybe feels like you're not going to bring what you said you were going to. So that's another great metaphor. So Matt, man, in 30 minutes, you got about 3 hours worth of insights to our audience and a lifetime of good lessons that they can learn. So I can't thank you enough for coming by.
It's been great.
Yeah, fun to see you, and thanks for making time in Dallas.
Yeah, you bet.
I want to thank the SBI audience because you have a choice on where you put your eyes and ears, and I appreciate truly that you would take some time to share with Melissa and myself and the rest of the team. And I know Matt's insights incredibly valuable for me and hopefully valuable for you. So I think, Melissa, on that, I think you got one more thing to share with our audience and
Yes, I
how
do.
they can benefit.
Yes, I do. For those of you out there watching and listening, we feature about 50 guests per year on the SBI podcast, and we know a lot of people, but we don't know everyone. So if you have a compelling story to share with the world, with our audience in B2B sales and marketing, I would love to hear from you. Please look me up on LinkedIn, Melissa Valdez. Thanks, Matt and Matt.
All right, that's it for today. Long putt, Sam, 4 wide. Matt. I wish you good luck as you try and make your number. Thanks for tuning in.
This has been the SBI Podcast. For more information on the studio, SBI's Executive Briefing Center, our team, or to schedule a workshop, please visit salesbenchmarkindex.com.